Do you like basketball? Basketball?
Mm-hmm.
I like, but I'm not good at. Yes, I'm not.
Me too.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the State of the League podcast, the only NBA podcast that forgot their passports but are sneaking into Canada anyways. I'm your host, Jack, a.k.a. joestar. First of all, that intro, total comedy. This is a satire podcast. I would never go against the borders or customs of any state. With me, as always, is the world-famous Pablo Escobar. And we are joined today by S from the Athletic NBA Daily and, just being smart and a genius and a famous guy online. S,
dog.
How you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Appreciate you guys having me on, as always. A lot of fun to talk about the Toronto Raptors. And, I have gotten stopped at the border coming back from Detroit once. Mm-hmm. Wasn't because I forgot my passport, but...
Well, are you allowed to say what it was?
Yes, yeah. So, dude, I packed vitamins to go there. Okay, but I'd pack like you don't bring a bottle of the vitamins. You know, you pack them in a little
loose in a plastic bag.
Exactly, right? And so on the way back, they stopped us because they just wanted to see if we like bought anything or whatever. And then the 30 patrol officers came in and they're like, "What is this bag? What are these narcotics?" And I'm like, "No. These are multivitamins. One of them is vitamin C, whatever, right?"
Nice.
And so they gave me a lot of shit and let me go. So. Yeah.
Did they take your vitamins?
They did take my vitamins, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm going to court. I'm going to need those back,
Yeah,
pal.
it's like 6 vitamins. That's like $2 at least.
What the fuck?
They're popping them during breaks, and I got the good stuff from this guy.
Breaking them down.
Rolling. That guy was lying. These are definitely Molly, dude.
I'm feeling it, I swear.
That's so funny. Well, how's your summer been, man? What have you been up to lately?
Good, man. Honestly, nothing much. Just kind of ramping up to the NBA season. I don't know how you guys feel, but the preseason is so long. I was just talking about this today. Like 4 weeks for a preseason is not needed. You know, give me 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. And it's weird because like I have a weird relationship with preseason because in my mind it occupies the same space as like summer league basketball, and then when preseason actually happens, it is way more canon. Like there's way more stuff you can look at with preseason basketball and be like, okay, yes, I can at least like take this away and be like, maybe the Mavs will try Cooper Flagg at point guard this year or whatever. You could do that for any team, but with summer league, there's nothing like that. 4 weeks, though, I agree. I mean, we don't need all that, but that's Adam Silver for you. I mean, it just I assume the more basketball we get on TV, the more commercials can be played and everything, and the more, it's just,
I think preseason enjoyment correlates directly to your team, and if you have a guy who is interesting to see. And so, like, this year I'm into preseason because I'm invested in Ice Bryce Sensabaugh, who's the leading scorer of all of preseason, and 70% true shooting through 3 games.
Incredible.
I mean, he's tearing up the entire.
We need an 8-week preseason for that guy.
I'm glad I'm on a Bryce pod because last week we did our like bold predictions for the NBA season type of thing, and one of my bold predictions was that Bryce Sensabaugh would become one of the pillars of the Utah Jazz franchise. Like he'd be one of their franchise players by the end of the year. So yeah, hell yeah. I think he is awesome. He is cooking right now. He's like Cam Thomas, but better, in my opinion. You know?
He's bigger, and if they let him take the mid-range shots, he's a guy who can make mid-range shots, not just take them. But I remember back in the day, because I'm a Bulls fan, back in the Derrick Rose years, preseason was always a big deal because it's like, okay, I have not seen this guy play in 15 months, and we're going to play Brazil. So once he comes, we're going to see him for the first time in Brazil. It's a huge deal and stuff like that.
Let's
and
fly
every
this
now
guy
and then it's like
1,000 miles, and then we'll see how his knees hold up.
And then if he plays, what the flight, dude, with the wonky knee? You can't. That doesn't count. And then every time there's a big prospect, sometimes it's like, I just want to see Zion next to these NBA bodies. But then outside of that, like, I'm sure last preseason, it's like I'm not counting on RESERVATIONS to be like, what's he look like?
Yeah, the rookies have been fun to watch. Like Dylan Harper last night versus the Pacers was a lot of fun. Obviously, Cooper has been fun. For the Raptors side, in the 2 games that we saw him, like Colin Murray-Boyles was a lot of fun to watch too. So that, to your point about like whatever team you're watching, having something exciting to look out for, that is definitely a big aspect of preseason. Yeah.
I also love throwing on seeing, oh shit, last 2 minutes, this game's tied. Nobody who's playing is gonna be in the NBA in a year. So it's like last time I'm seeing like Caleb Houston go bar for bar with like the entire Miami Heat Z team to get the Atlanta Hawks to win, and it's like, okay, it's fun. I'm having
is he
fun.
In Atlanta?
I think so.
He's on the Hawks now.
Yeah. Because I was like, I didn't fact check that at all, so I was like, yo, is there a second Houston in the NBA? This is a little intimidating.
No, it was. You're right. You got it. Yeah. You got it. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad to have you on. I'm excited to talk Raptors. Pablo, is there anything you want to get off your chest before we get into the preview?
No, we got the Bryce talk out of the way. He didn't put up another 20 burger, but he put up a highly efficient 16, and he was still the leading scorer on the Jazz. So
Okay, cool. Guys, write that down. Because you heard it here. We've been saying it for years. And so once the storm is inevitable. It's destined to happen. Oh, yeah. So once it happens, just remember where you heard it first. All right. Well, I guess we could lead off with I sent you generally 5 questions we're asking everybody for the preseason. Depending on, your team's odds of title contention, you tweak them a little bit, I would say. But we're all expecting the Raptors to be more competitive than a team like the Hornets or something. So I really changed them up for our Hornets preview. But these are generally the same. So, S, were you happy with how Toronto's season went last year? How did you feel about it? 30-52. They finished as the 11th seed just outside the play-in tournament. And then I think... the 8th pick in the draft?
9th, yeah, they went 9th. So they were supposed to get the 7th pick, or at least they were slotted in to get the 7th pick, and they fell to 9.
A lot of falls in the draft.
Yeah. As soon as we saw that Dallas jumped, we're like, all right, there's no way they're keeping their pick. It was tough because I think if the Raptors had jumped in the lottery, if they had gotten like a top 5 pick, I would have said it was a win. It's hard to kind of look at that thing right now and say, well, where does Colin Murray-Boyles rank in terms of the draft prospects? Again, 2 weeks into the preseason, he does look really good, and so I guess maybe in a couple years you can ask me this question again, and I'll be like, yeah, this is a huge win. CMB looks like a top 5 prospect in the draft, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, I do think it was a pretty disappointing season just because they tanked so aggressively and tried to lose so badly in order to get a high pick, and they didn't end up with one. So the results of the season sucked. But I guess from a process perspective, down year for Scotty Barnes, injury-riddled season for Emmanuel Quickley, so you didn't get to see him in his first year of that contract. R.J. Barrett took a leap, I think. He became a more consistent and well-rounded player. I think that's an intriguing part of this season as he adjusts to a different role. They acquired Brandon Ingram. We didn't see Brandon Ingram all of last year. We've seen him over the last couple of weeks. So not a ton of wins from last year, just figuring out what this team is and what the future is supposed to be for them, which I don't think is any more clear after the last season,
Yeah, it is. It's intimidating because I'm very firm. I feel like Pablo's the same way. No man's land. That's the worst place to be.
It's a tough place to be.
It's fine to win 50 games. It's fine to win 10 games. But when you're winning like 33 games, it's like, what is happening right now? And I feel like last year, I don't know. So you said they tanked pretty aggressively. Did you feel like from the onset of the season last year their goal was to like lose basketball games, or did they come in with more of like hey, we could be frisky in this Eastern Conference approach?
The first thing Masai said, literally the first word out of his mouth last season was rebuild, and he hadn't used rebuild at all in his tenure with the Raptors. So I think the motto, the objective was like, hey, we're going to take this thing however it goes. But it quickly turned into a tank because Scotty got hurt. I think maybe 10 games into the season, Jokic elbowed him in the eye, and so he was out for like 2 months.
He's allowed to move his body, people. It's
just part of a track record. I've seen what he did to the Morris twin.
So he was out for like 2 months and then quickly got hurt. And their rookie, Jacoby Walter, was also hurt for a little bit. So there was no real excitement with the team other than watching R.J. Barrett and Jakob Poeltl pick and rolls for like 40 times a game, which was fun in its own way, but not the way of winning. So, yeah, they leaned into a tank very quickly. And I think they went 1-17 in December, which was like, all right, we know what the goal is here. This is what they're doing. But it was weird because in January they went on an 8-game winning streak, and it was like, what are we? What is
you just undid all that good stuff we did in December. What was the point? So you're telling that to me that's like, was December an accident? What's going on?
I mean, they were hurt. It definitely was an accident. Like I think most people, I don't know how much you guys agree with this, but they won 30 games last year, but if they were fully healthy, they probably are more talented than 30 games. They probably win, like, I don't know, 34, 35. Is that much of an improvement? I don't know. But, like, they're probably better than a 30-win team last season. And now you incorporate Brandon Ingram, and it's a different story. But, yeah.
Yeah. Pablo, what do you think about all this?
First things first, when it comes to mind about the Raptors, Masai Ujiri is gone for the first time in a long time. And that was the result of owner tension, kind of, right? Like a new guy came into charge, and he never really liked Masai. Without
getting into the economics of Toronto sports, which you kind of have to in order to get into this stuff, but basically there's MLSE, which owns the Raptors, Maple Leafs, technically now the Blue Jays. They basically own all the major sports other than the Toronto Tempo, the WNBA team that's coming out. So they own all of that, and they just recently – they used to be split between two major telecommunication companies. Shout out to monopolies, I guess. And
I love consolidation, baby. It's the best.
Absolutely. It used to be Rogers and Bell. Those are the two major telecommunication companies that owned MLSE. And so Rogers bought out Bell and now owns all of MLSE. Rogers is owned by a guy named Ted Rogers. And he was not the biggest fan of Masai Ujiri's contract that he signed in, I believe, 2021. There was a lot of animosity in those negotiations. Masai got a contract for like $15 million a year, which was reported. And so at that point, with 1 year left on his contract in June, they basically decided that they're not going to keep him around. So it was very financially motivated. That's what I would say with this Masai thing, for sure.
So what was the feeling from you and the fan base in general? Was it like, you know what, he's kind of run his course here, it's time to go? Or was it still like, oh, this is still one of the smarter guys. It's terrible, we're running him out?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because, like, obviously they have not had a good run over post-championship with their front office, I would say. Like, not the greatest contracts given out, letting guys walk in free agency. You know, the trades, you can argue one way or another, were, like, for Pascal and for other guys, like, not the greatest value. Probably holding on to guys too long in terms of value, too. So from that perspective, like, I get it in terms of him running his course. He actually even admitted, I think it was last off season, where he's like, yeah, I've let myself go in terms of the decision making process. I need to be more involved in what they were doing. And so to that point, I can understand people who are like, I don't know if this necessarily makes sense for him to stay around. That said, you look at all the good, well-run organizations in the NBA, they usually stick to a guy, like, or at the very least, that guy sticks around and is a senior advisor or whatever moving forward. Like, you think of, I don't know, R.C. Buford with the San Antonio Spurs. He's still around and doing stuff. Obviously, Sam Presti with the Oklahoma City Thunder has had to deal with a lot, but still stayed in place to do what he needed to. I don't know. It feels like good organizations typically keep those types of guys around. That said, it does make sense if they wanted to make a change. And it's not like they made a massive change either way. They kept Bobby Webster. Bobby, who has been under Masai for the last 4 or 5 years, he's the guy who's, like, running things now. I don't think it's that much of a difference compared to what you saw with Masai.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did have that written down here. Do you feel like – so do you expect the Masai departure to have significant ripple effects on the Raptors this season? Is it more like – how they will approach building out the team moving forward. And so, like, I don't know. What do you think is going to happen on that front?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because, like, long term, maybe the way Bobby likes to run things and how he wants to build out this team is different than what Masai envisions. Like, they've been on the same page for some decisions, as has been reported, but they've also been at different sides of things for different acquisitions. Like, I think it was reported by Sportsnet that they were kind of on separate sides when it came to the Brandon Ingram trade. And so that said, like, Ingram is now on the team. He's signed a contract. He's extended. So it's kind of tough to see how they're going to change that moving forward.
Well, Bobby was pro Ingram, right? Or
right. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I think at least that's what I remember in terms of the reporting. If it was the other way around, that would be
I would be worried. I was like, oh shit, we traded for this guy, and then the guy who was arguing for you, we just booted his ass out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So I think to your point, I think there are valid questions about the long-term building of this team and how he wants it versus how Masai likes to build out teams. Obviously, every guy is going to be different in terms of how they approach building out a team. So it probably looks different. In terms of this season, I don't think so. I think they're just going to keep the course of what this roster looks like.
Yeah, because it's also not like I really don't think this is a roster that's in position to like explosively change over the next year, especially the next NBA season.
Although, like, I will say the fact that they have all their picks and they are like one of those teams that will always try to be aggressive and whatever, and they also have salary, so I think there's a world in which they could do that to go out and be aggressive and find someone.
Toronto has direct flights to Athens as well.
Toronto has direct. It actually does have direct flights to Athens, man.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just what I'm seeing in the flight logs. I don't know, people.
Yeah. Oh, man, that is so
Masai
funny.
knew for a while that he was probably going to be out, right? And definitely by the time of the draft. And so I remember there was a lot of like smoke about like the Raptors and Kaman Malwatch and like how like this is a match made in heaven. He fills a position of need. Masai has known him through his work in NBA Africa and stuff like that. And then they made the surprising choice to go Colin Murray Boyles. Is there any little conspiracy brain where it's like Masai's like, I like that guy, but I know I'm out of here. I'm not giving him to the Raptors. Is there any validity to that or no?
Apparently, he knew a month beforehand, but he asked them to stay on for the draft process. And so I would wager that he actually probably liked Colin Murray Boyles. Because if he did, his whole point was like, I wanted to stay along to make sure that they finished out this draft process the right way and then leave. And so I don't know. I think I would be surprised if it was a Kamal Malawatch thing, to be honest with you. I think they had their sights set on CMB for a while. They had been scouting him for a while. He's also a 2-year guy, so they got a chance to look at him last year in the draft, and so they really liked him. I think it made sense. Honestly, I'm not that high on Kaman. I'm very excited to see how he looks in Phoenix. But
it's the worst. I just like him conceptually. I want it to work.
Conceptually, he looks awesome. Yes, absolutely.
And when he went to Phoenix, out loud, I was like, no,
tough.
No, there's no point guards there. I was like, fingers crossed he could slide to Atlanta. Atlanta was like 3 picks forward, and I was like, dude, Trey will give this guy a 20-year career. It's gonna be so dope. And instead, Jalen Green pick and rolls sometimes, I guess. But we're not here to talk about Phoenix or come on. We're here to talk about the Raptors. So I guess this leads into our next question. Will this upcoming season be different from last year? If so, why? What do you think a good versus a bad season looks like for the Toronto Raptors?
So, this season definitely should be different than last year. At the very least, they hope for some injury luck because last year they were not healthy at all. And so you're hoping some of that injury luck goes their way, specifically when it comes to Emmanuel Quickley, specifically when it comes to Scotty Barnes, who missed a bunch of games to start the year for them. Hopefully for Brandon Ingram also, because I think that's a big, big factor into this is how healthy BI stays. He's only played 65-plus games in his career, I think, once, and that was his rookie year, which is it's tough to even conceptualize. I think he maybe did it one more time in New Orleans, but it's been tough for him injury-wise, and he's spoken out about how his last ankle injury was probably his worst in terms of rehab. Like, it took him the longest to get back on the court. So that is a huge factor for this season, is how healthy this dude is, because their offense is going to crater without him. Like, they rely on him so much for half-court creation in terms of getting into tough spots. Like, he's going to take a lot of tough shots for this Raptors team in the offense. And so in terms of the expectations for them this season, I think they'll be a very good defensive team. I think they have the nucleus to be a very, very good defensive team, like top 10 in the league defensively. In terms of the offense, I don't necessarily see the vision there. I think they're probably going to be a bottom 10 offensive team.
They were so bad last year.
They were terrible last year. Yeah, exactly. And the roster hasn't changed much, and they were near the bottom of the league in basically every play action, right? Pick and roll, handoff, isolations, whatever. They were near the bottom of the league. BI might change some of that. He's not going to change everything. So, yeah.
I'm pretty high on him. Like, I do feel like he is a very additive offensive player. Like, I feel like Ingram can kind of get pigeonholed as this tough shot guy. And so then people kind of, they do default to him as, like, the Cam Thomas archetype or whatever. But Ingram is, like, not a ball stopper, very good passer, very good playmaker, a really good connective piece. It's just the task. I mean, once I started digging into Toronto's offense last year, I was like, come on. You guys got to give me – there had to be something we were good at. And they were 26th in offensive rating, 29th in made threes, 28th in three-point attempts, 25th in two-point percentage, and 29th in free throw percentage. So there was not really any spot on the floor where they were like, this is our bread and butter. We can get it done. Defensively, they were 15th. And I mean, I think everybody is kind of on the same page. Like, the word with the way the NBA is right now, just a team full of these lengthy athletes. It should be a good team on that end. It's just like, even with Ingram and how Ingram kind of maybe slots down Scotty Barnes in terms of his overall scoring burden, it's still not a team where you're like you're just going to have a lot of really rough nights, it feels like. I am curious, so how do you expect Ingram and Scotty to kind of interact on the floor together, and how do you, make Scotty's life easier? Because his life was very hard last year.
Yeah, his life was hard. I think he's talked about it during training camp and during preseason, where he's like, I can be more of a screener, I can be more of a play finisher, I can be more of a guy who attacks the rim and works in the dunker spot to get easier looks, and my efficiency should go up a little bit more. Darko has said the exact same thing in terms of hey, we're going to hope Scotty plays more efficient basketball because he doesn't have to do these things. For what it's worth, in preseason, we have not seen that at all.
I've been seeing you and Samson's tweets being like, oh, he gets a small guy on him. Mid-range jumper.
Jump
cool.
Yeah. So, look, last year he took a career high in long mid-range attempts. So, I'm going to get a mismatch, and I'm going to pull up 18 feet over whoever it is. And it's been the same thing in the preseason so far. Now, me and you, we can chalk it up to preseason, but also knowing that he did that last year, it does feel like it's a bit of a habit developing in terms of he's settling for looks more often than he's trying to attack the basket. That's just in his own self-created looks. But in the one game he played with Brandon Ingram, he wasn't the greatest screener for him. He was trying to slip to the basket, and BI kind of needs someone to lay out the body so that he can kind of attack to the basket or get into that middle area. I don't think we saw that often. That's probably something they'll have to develop. That's why I went to practice 2 weeks ago. And actually, wow, it feels like it was 2 weeks ago. It was actually last week that I went to practice. It wasn't
Time
even
dilation,
last week.
baby.
It wasn't even last week. It was 4 days ago that I went there.
2 weeks, a month ago, I was at practice.
Yeah, literally a couple weeks ago, 4 days ago. I was at practice, and I was asking Darko Rajakovic about staggering starting lineups, because I think that's a big part of what's going to happen with this Raptors team is they're going to have to find a way to just filter through a lot of their guys to get opportunities on the ball for RJ, for Emmanuel Quickley, for Scotty, for BI, and how those guys work together. BI and RJ developing a really nice chemistry, so maybe stagger those two guys together. Scotty and IQ technically should work together, like inverted pick and rolls, IQ pops out to the basket, good 3-point shooter, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's the way it should be staggered. And then Jakob Poeltl is sort of like the baseline competent big man for this team. He basically needs to be on the court for 32 to 34 minutes a night for this team to survive. But, yeah.
Yeah. Pablo, what do you think?
What does the Ingram and RJ synergy look like?
It's pretty cool, actually. RJ works well off of the ball, so he's like cutting to the basket. They have just synergy and understanding where each other are on the floor. They just know where they are. That's been one of the prevailing things for the first couple of games of the preseason. It's just like an understanding of where a guy likes the ball. It's cool to watch. Also, they're both good catch and shoot 3-point shooters. So if one of them has the ball, they kind of space out and it works because they're just able to knock down their catch and shoot looks. Whereas like Scotty still is working through his jump shot, and whether it's catch and shoot or pull up has not looked good over the last year. So he's still working on that aspect. But RJ, I don't know, for the last 100 or so games, maybe a little bit more, has been like a 38-39% catch and shoot player. Ingram throughout his career has been like a 37-38% catch and shoot guy. It's the pull-ups that those guys suck at. So BI is such a good mid-range scorer. He can get to that middle area of the floor, and then RJ spaced out to the corner, he can knock that down, or he can cut to the basket, and that's sort of the synergy that they have on the floor.
Testing.
Can you hear it?
Testing.
I don't hear him.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Cool.
Yeah, you're
sweet.
good. Yeah.
Epic. I was gonna.
It was crazy. It was like I had schizophrenia. Oh, do you know about schizophrenia?
No.
It's very similar to
It's like
schizophrenia.
Linsanity.
Also, like, you know how Linsanity and Gymmermania? Well, this is for Bryce Sensabaugh, and it's kind of like schizophrenia, but the voices in your head are talking to you about Bryce Sensabaugh.
Bryce Sensabaugh.
Yeah, he's the greatest mid-range shooting prospect ever. And
400 made threes for the first of his career. No, I was going to ask RJ Barrett. So this is an interesting piece who has obviously had like a lot of ups and downs in his career. And I feel like the 3-point stuff that you're speaking to, it's great that it's come around because for so long, I'm sure you interacted with Knicks fans after the trade where it's like, yep. You're going to get 20 games where he can
just
shoot
you wait,
those.
buddy. Yeah, exactly.
That's going to come down. You just wait. And, relatively speaking to the rest of his career, it hasn't come down in the way you would expect. Like, he's been a really serviceable spacer since he got to Toronto. I think that bodes well for him offensively. A lot of the defensive stuff that I was looking at, as far as advanced shit, doesn't love him. Can you speak to, like, how much of that is on him, how much of that was on, like, the team setting last season, and if you expect it to improve this year?
Yeah, look, he's definitely their, if not their second weakest defender in the starting lineup. It's either him or BI, but I just think BI is longer, so it helps him be a little bit better off of the ball, where he can kind of get his hand in the cookie jar and get steals and whatnot. But RJ was part of the only winning lineup defensively for the Raptors last season. So I kind of want to give him a little bit of credit to the point where he's figuring things out. I'm not going to say he's a perfect defender. I think there are a lot of moments where he lets guys get to the middle of the floor offensively, or he'll have moments where he risks and takes way too many risks. But that's sort of baked into the Raptors' defense anyways. It's like we're trying to play this Oklahoma City Thunder style, force turnovers, be chaotic, etc. And so that leans into what the Raptors want to do, but RJ just doesn't have that level of foot speed to be able to like maintain that level plus do what he has to offensively. It is a valid question to ask, but I think the other options for the Raptors in that shooting guard spot also have defensive questions. Like Grady Dick is a guy who I'm a big fan of, but also has tons of defensive questions for him. Like very good shooter, a guy who actually probably has more creation juice than most people assume, but not a good defender whatsoever. Jacoby Walter, on the other hand, very good like point of attack pest type defender, but still struggles to navigate around screens, still probably a little too small and gets bullied often if it's like a mismatch situation. So that's a quality that RJ has too, where he's just a bigger, stockier dude and can guard up in positions. I think for what it's worth, like RJ's going to be a trade candidate in February, and everybody's going to talk about his contract. And he has, I think, $28 million and then $30 million next year. They're obviously, especially with the fact that they're $6 million above the luxury tax.
Oh my God.
they are gonna look. That's part of the.
For this team is insane. I did not realize that. Yeah. Man.
So that's why I think, and this is sort of the overarching thing for this season, is like they have to win games, dude.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down. Yeah, it's like
if they don't win games, there are going to be not only like changes to what trades for RJ Barrett and et cetera. There will be like wholesale changes to this team. Coach, maybe they look at GM, maybe they look at like different packages to completely tear this down to the studs and start anew.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they don't win and show a proof of concept, there are going to be a lot of questions about this team. So, yeah, RJ will definitely be in trade rumors till February. I think for what it's worth, I hope they don't trade RJ. I think he's one of those guys that like fits in pretty well with what they want to do. It's just the grouping of everybody together that makes it a little bit harder for them to feasibly keep everybody.
And he's the hometown guy.
He is the hometown guy, dude. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Only 45 minutes away. Well, less than 45 minutes, like 30 minutes away from downtown Toronto.
Nice. How far is Akron from Cleveland? Somebody drop it in the comments. I'm trying to see who's more hometown, RJ or
Akron
LeBron?
is like what, 45 minutes away? I think it's something.
I don't know. I've never even been to the state, baby. Okay, Pablo. Do you have any questions follow up to RJ or just like other shit moving into next year?
Yeah, so offense, I didn't realize how fast of a team this was. They were 9th in pace. They were the third. They spent the third most time in transition of any team in the NBA. So they were always out there. What's crazy?
Transition offense, going back to our last episode, it's OP. It's the most OP offense in basketball.
Yeah, the transition differential we learned is the most, like, the biggest gap maker in the NBA. But so they're out in transition a ton. They get out in transition off of steals and off of live rebounds, like at the top rates in the league. The only problem is they suck at scoring when they're in transition.
They are terrible at scoring in transition. Yeah, I will explain that. I think a lot of that is on Scotty Barnes. He was a very high-frequency transition player last year, but was near the bottom of the league in transition offense and efficiency. And I think a lot of that was like bailing out defenses, like settling for pull-up threes and settling for pull-up mid-range shots instead of barreling his way to the basket or getting to the hoop. That is why this team struggled. But there were other guys who were really good in transition for this Raptors team last year. Like RJ Barrett finished in the top 5 in fast break points last year for them. So like he's been a pretty good source of transition offense for them generally, even though the rim finishing has been up and down for him. I think they will be better in transition this season purely because, like you said, they like to run like madmen. They are insane in terms of running. They're really good at these hit-ahead passes, which they're trying to incorporate more this season, which is like live rebound, get it to the guy who's at half court. We're going to try to beat everybody to their spots and like work without seeing a set half-court defense. I think Emmanuel Quickley's presence will help with that also because his catch-and-shoot three-point shooting and pull-up shooting is particularly lethal in transition. So I think they'll be a little bit better in transition. A lot of that depends on if Scotty is going to be willing to get to the basket, though. That's probably the main thing here.
That's kind of, I've been tiptoeing around it a little bit, I guess. Yeah. But it's just like, so Scotty last year, I wrote this, we got 30% of his shots came at the rim. He shot 65% on those. Both are career low numbers by far to accompany a career low 27% from three. So just across the board, really tough scoring year from Scotty. Have you, because I feel like a few years ago, I was in the camp where I was like, it's Scotty, it's Mobley, and then like it's like Pablo gets added in when he gets drafted and everything as these guys that like I really liked as like franchise cornerstones. Cade was in that draft as well. And do you feel like you're starting to maybe recalibrate what the ceiling is on Scotty Barnes, or do you think that are you holding out hope that like this season we get all of these offensive pieces in place, you have an approach to offense adjustment that kind of makes him put his head down more and focus on this physicality aspect that he has such great tools for, and we get back on track for being like this all NBA level guy that we kind of thought he was going to be. What are your thoughts around Scotty right now?
Yeah, so the scoring is really interesting for him because I do think in this more refined role he'll be able to score efficiently and like get back to what he was good at, which is like garbage man type buckets. You know what I mean? Like finishing in that dunker spot type of area, working to crash the offensive glass, like in the middle of the floor, short roll area, either making passes to his teammates or working in that area. Like he's developing a mid-range jumper for a reason. It's to become more lethal in that area where he makes passes. I think there's a world in which that works for the Raptors. I will say there's such a baseline of good basketball for what Scotty provides because of how talented of a defender he is.
Yeah.
So that floor, establishing that floor is what's going to make him eventually an all-NBA type of player. I think he still has that potential. I think a lot of that just means like how good of a defender can you become in the NBA? Can you become an all-defense level defender to add on to a very good playmaker and a guy who's like very willing to pass the ball, who's a good rebounder, and then you have all those other things, and if you can find a way to score efficiently, then you have a guy who's definitely going to be an all-NBA guy. But the bare bones of what Scotty is as a player, which is very talented defender, versatile defender, and can pass the ball and work, hopefully, in transition. I think that's the version that can compete with those guys. I still believe in him, truthfully. I mean, you kind of have to at this point. You've locked in for this long in terms of the contractual obligations and everything. I think there's a world in which he can become an all-NBA player, but the scoring and the offensive efficiency all depends on what kind of player he wants to be. And I actually think that's a really important point to note because for those types of like do-it-all forwards who are offensively inept coming out of college, like they have to decide what kind of players they want to be. Mm-hmm. You think of the Ben Simmons of the world, you think of the Draymond Greens of the world, like for better or worse, those guys decided what kind of players they want to be. Scotty has to sort of decide something similar, whereas like, am I going to leverage my physicality? Am I going to be that type of player, or do I want to be more of a point guard and a wing, and I need to work on my three-point shot and my mid-range scoring bag? But
yeah. I will also say, now that we're talking through it, because a lot of the stuff you said, I feel like applies to Şengün's situation a little bit in Houston somehow, where he's like not the most efficient guy in the world, but we just I feel like the vibes around him rock just because he was part of this great defense. And like I feel like if Scotty was in that, like if the Raptors are like a good defense next year, like if they hit most like 80% of their potential or whatever, I'm not saying they'll be like a Rockets level defense, but I think it's so much easier for the vibes around Scotty to shift when all of a sudden it's he's like a foundational piece of a defense that keeps their team in games. It makes the Raptors really competitive. And on the other end, he's also given you, 18, 7, and 5 on on bad efficiency or whatever. Like it's so much easier to stomach when there is like a platform to display the defense, and it just doesn't feel like the Raptors were really that last season. Like no one was tuning in and being like,
exactly. I was just gonna say,
score on them.
Conversations and narratives are really fickle when it comes to this stuff, so it can flip so easily. Let's say the Cavs have another disappointing postseason where like Mobley doesn't show it in the playoffs and he's not like scoring efficiently, he's not versatile. Then the questions will be, well, Mobley can't do it in the playoffs. You know what I mean? He's a good regular season player, but his game doesn't translate to the playoffs. Maybe you knock him down a peg compared to these other guys. So like these conversations are so fluid that I don't know. I do think a good season for the Raptors will have him back in like all-star level conversations and all-NBA level conversations, maybe all-NBA level conversations eventually. I think the scoring has to take another step, though, if he really wants to be an all-NBA level player. I think all defense is fair to assume for him. I think, maybe all-star if the Raptors are winning and good. But all-NBA, you need a little bit of a scoring bump there.
Yeah. Pablo, what are you thinking about all this?
So what is the starting lineup gonna be? How much of a bounce are they gonna? Because they have so many crazy defenders, but you can't play all of them. So
sure.
What is the balance gonna be?
So it's gonna be Jakob, Scotty, Brandon, RJ, and Emmanuel Quickly is the starting five. And then coming off the bench, I think the number one guy coming off the bench is Grady Dick as their sixth man of the year kind of candidate if they want to see if he does anything offensively for them. Jacoby Walter will be in there. They like Jamal Shedd a lot. Colin Murray-Boyles has carved out a spot in the rotation for himself already just because wildly talented defender who matches what they want to do defensively. And then Sandro Mamukelishvili.
We haven't even gotten to him yet. Let's hear it.
Mamu's been pretty good, man. Like they are so desperate for a stretch five option. And man, he is a guy who can knock down above the break threes, which is something great to see. He can also attack closeouts. He's pretty good at driving the basketball for his size. Pretty good at making plays. He can run the floor. I don't know. He fits in pretty seamlessly with what this team desperately needs, which is a shooting big man. So they're probably going to use him quite a bit.
Where are we at with Mobo, with Jonathan Mobo? Because he was kind of a crazy, high ceiling defender.
Wildly talented defender. He matches their switch everything style when they don't have Jakob on the floor. So I think he still plays a part on this team. I think it just depends on. Honestly, there will be competition between him and CMB for competing minutes. Although I think Mobo probably is more of a 4/5, where CMB they're trying to lean into 4/3. He's not going to play 5 as much.
He's
can
pretty short,
though,
isn't it? For a front court guy.
Yeah. He's 6'6", maybe 6'7" on a good day, but he's so wide. The first 2 games of the preseason, he was tasked with guarding Jokic and Sabonis, and 6'6" guarding that is tough. But he did a pretty good job. His physicality.
Caruso can do it, so anyone can do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I think they want to go 10 or 11 deep this year. Who those 10 or 11 guys are is the big question. I think they probably have 9 guys, 8 guys that they can trust on a night-to-night basis. And then the 10 to 11 spot, or 9, 10, 11 spot is where it's up in the air. It depends. Maybe it's Mobo one night. Maybe it's CMB another night. Maybe it's Ochai Agbaji another night. There's just a couple of different options that they can go to, depending on how they want to play. If they want to play smaller or if they want to play bigger and play more defensive-oriented.
What's that make you think about, Pablo?
Who's running this backup? Who's running the bench show? Is it going to be Shedd as the primary?
It's going to be Scotty, actually. So,
really?
Yeah. That was part of the article I recently did for Raptors Republic, which was just talk about staggering lineups. And so, one of the things Darko told me was that Scotty is still going to run the show for the bench. So he's going to be the first sub off. The starters are kind of going to go with Grady Dick and, have those guys run the show for the rest of the first quarter. And then Scotty subs in with the rest of the bench group and carries the bench in a way. And I think that makes sense just because Scotty does like playing the pseudo point guard role of hey, I'm going to, orchestrate offense for you. We're going to run in transition. I'm going to find shooters, et cetera, et cetera. So he likes playing in that role. And also defensively, again, he provides such a baseline for what they want to do that he'll be able to raise the level for those lineups defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then with Emmanuel Quickly, I like Quickly. I think
bounce
he's
back
good.
season, man.
I'm hoping for it. I got fried on it forever ago because I was I like Quickly more than Levine. and then LaVine had like one of those classic like 38 points on 10 shots. The Bulls win a close one, and everyone was like, "You fucking dumbass." And I've been waiting because in Sacramento the empty stats have come to bear out. I'm like, this is all fake.
It's not on him. It's not on him.
But quickly has just not existed on the court, and so it's been impossible to circle back on that. I really hope we do get a bounce back year from him, because I feel like just in the sphere of this Raptors team, there's so much cool stuff that he provides that like it just gives them so much breathing room. Like 38% on 7 threes a game for a team that was like this desolate last year. And like you said, both off the catch and on pull-ups and stuff. Like he's just such a dynamic guy from out there. I don't know. It just how excited are you for him to get back into the fold? And do you feel like you mentioned staggering? It'll be him and Scotty off the bench together with the second lineup?
Yeah, that's what I would assume. Just because, like, Quick is – so what Darko said was, like, we need 2 ball handlers on at all times, so it'll be, like, Scotty and Jamal or Scotty and Quick. And because Quick, again, the three-point shooting is such a massive swing for him, so he's knocking down shots. It pairs really well with Scotty. I will say – everybody is basically assuming that Quick is going to have a role more similar to his Knicks days, where he's working off of the ball more often. He's attacking closeouts more. Like his floater numbers cratered in Toronto. They absolutely and that was such a massive part of his bag in New York. The reason they cratered, though, was because most of them were on ball, kind of floaters, where he's trying to snake the pick and roll and get to that like mid-range floater area. Bricked a lot of those. But if it was off the catch, cool, I'm going to pump and attack a defender in a tilted defense and like settle for this floater. He was incredible at those. And so I think the same thing will apply to what we saw in New York, where he's working to attack a tilted defense more often, so he'll have more efficient offensive games. The big thing for Quick is 3-point attempts. He has to take more threes. You said 7 last year.
That's not enough.
Not enough, man. He needs to take like 9 or more. And I think that's a big swing for him. He actually, I think someone asked him, they're like, yeah, you've only taken like 7 as your career high. He's like, really? I feel like it should be more. And he was surprised at it himself. So he needs to take more threes. That's the big thing with him, is just try to get to 10. Can we get 10? 10 on 38% shooting is really good. So that's the version of Quick that this Raptors team needs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like we can move to the next question then, which we've kind of been touching on it a little bit, but I don't think we've had like a concrete answer or discussion. Biggest reservation about the team next year. I think we can say health as one. It's just like it's concerning. But given health, what do you feel like the shortcomings of this team will be when they have their ideal lineups on the floor?
Offense and 3-point shooting. I think like half-court creation will be a big part of their struggles and how they sustain when Brandon Ingram is off the floor, and particularly like can Scotty Barnes leverage and win those minutes. The other aspect is just 3-point shooting. Like this team didn't take a lot of threes last year. They also didn't make a lot of threes last year, and they are virtually the same roster, including and adding Brandon Ingram. So I don't necessarily know. Like they're trying to basically, create an advantage for themselves by winning the possession battle because they can't make threes. So that's a big part of the game for them, is like the math battle of we're going to force turnovers, get out in transition, and take 20 more shots than you because we know you're going to take and make 10 more threes than us.
That's got to be a frustrating job. The math guy on a team that can't shoot threes is
exactly.
If we do all this stuff, we'll break even with the teams that shoot average from 3 or whatever. That's crazy.
So that will be the big issue for them. I think I think they will be a pretty good defense, but offense, 3-point shooting, how are they going to do that on a night-to-night basis?
They were the number 3 team in preventing 3-point makes. Like team shot the 3rd worst against them or something. Was that what goes into that? It was
a little
luck?
bit of luck.
Okay.
Yeah. So they ran very similar defensive scheme to the Thunder, which is we're going to help off the corners and we're going to allow guys to shoot corner threes, and then we're going to crash the offensive glass, and that's how we want to generate offense. That was a little bit of luck, I would say, towards the second half of the year where they were playing a lot easier competition. It was like you got 2 Wizards games, 2 Jazz games, 2 games against the Magic who were decimated by injuries. And those teams just weren't good shooting teams. They weren't good teams at all in those moments. And it was a little bit of luck there. So we'll see if that luck pans out. I think defensively, that's also another question because this was the second best defense post All-Star break. I don't think they're that good. I think a lot of that was competition, but I do think they can be a top 10-ish defense. A lot of that depends on the 3-point shooting luck, though. That's completely fair.
Well, they're 15th last year. That wouldn't be a crazy leap with some better health and everything. What was fuck? Oh yeah, just the East through the entire back half of last year was so tough. Where it was like every third night you're getting like Brooklyn, Charlotte, Washington, or Philadelphia. There was just so many. Like it makes sense. The 8-game winning streak. Now that I'm talking through it in January, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot what the rest of the conference looked like. So as far as the 3-point shooting goes, do you feel like there's any ways with the personnel at hand that they will like try to improve that? Do you feel like you mentioned, hey, 6-man Grady Dick? Are we really focusing on his shooting ability? Are we trying to gas up his 3-point numbers the same way you're talking with Quickly?
Yeah. I mean, look, they have like a quartet of guys in that shooting guard spot between him, Jacoby Walter, Jameson Battle, and Ochai Agbaji, who are going to fight for minutes this season, and it's going to be like crabs in a barrel, like figure out which guy is really the guy for you. But also, those 3 can knock down shots and open shots, right? So if you have them next to your creators, if Brandon Ingram is seeing a double team, if Scotty Barnes is getting help in the post, etc., then those guys can knock down corner threes for you. Their life should be easier this season just because of the presence of BI. But also, and I don't know how you guys feel about this through the last hour of conversation that we've had, but I am basing a lot of this on BI save us. The offense would be better because of BI. Oh yeah, the half-court the 3-point shooting would be better because of BI. I think he's a wildly talented offensive player. To your point, Jack, earlier, like he's underrated in terms of his playmaking, but how much heavy lifting can he do to just bully the rest of these offensive guys? I don't know.
I like the guy. B.I. Save us scares me. I'm a little intimidated by that approach to basketball. Pablo, what do you think about all this? What do you think about Ingram, about Dick, everything?
Ingram is interesting because you said like he's better than Cam Thomas. Like he's out of that territory at least, but he is still kind of in DeRozan territory, which I guess you know a lot about DeRozan territory. And so what separates because DeRozan also became a really good passer, and Ingram is like one of the top mid-range shooters in the league now. DeRozan has been that for years, but Ingram is bigger, so you hope he has a better chance at attacking the rim in the playoffs, but I don't know if he actually has been good. And he is a capable 3-point shooter where DeRozan isn't. Yeah. So how much does his like where do you see the difference between him and DeRozan? Where can he elevate the team as where DeRozan couldn't? Because he did struggle the last time we saw him in the playoffs, but was that against OKC? I don't know how many.
It was against OKC, and he was
established their defense was at that point.
So it was against OKC. I believe OKC was the first seed that year. That was not championship year. That was the year before.
Yeah, it was the year prior. Yes.
And he was coming off an injury, so like I think the play-in game was his first game back or something along the lines of that, and they snuck into the play-in. They lost to the Lakers with Zion having that 50-point game or whatever, and then they beat, I think, Sacramento or Dallas. I can't remember who they beat to stay in. Play-in doesn't matter anyways. The stats don't count. So
I can't find it. I was literally looking around to try and help, but they won't let. It's in a black box somewhere.
Doesn't matter. It's a black box in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or whatever. But let's see. Like I think Prime DeRozan, in my opinion, is a better offensive player than Prime Ingram.
I feel like that's true. I mean, regular season certainly. Like there was a couple years where DeRozan was fucking nasty. I was like, I mean, when you go back and look, you're like a 28 point per game scorer on like really solid efficiency.
It's also like you don't get to 25,000 points by accident. You know, like he has been consistent and healthy, and I think there is something to the rim finishing. Like DeRozan was, at least in his prime, not anymore. He doesn't get to the basket as often as he used to, but he used to be such an incredible dunker and guy who could create and finish in the basket. So like that plus the drawing fouls plus the mid-range repertoire, I think DeRozan was probably better in his prime. Currently, I think it's probably a bit of a toss-up, but you're also dealing with, 34-year-old DeMar DeRozan versus 29-year-old Brandon Ingram. It's like a different conversation.
Is Ingram 29?
He's something like that, I want to say.
Oh, man.
He is 2016 draft, so we're coming up on the
Brandon
on the
Ingram
10th
age.
year.
He's
Brandon
28.
Ingram.
Oh,
Okay.
well, yeah, did he just turn 28? Yes, he just turned 28.
Okay.
There
Damn.
you go. Yeah.
Oh, that sneaks up on you. I don't like that. Brandon Ingram, that's baby KD. He plays for the Lakers. Oh, man. As far as like him versus DeRozan, I don't know. Like you hope the 3-point shooting kind of separates them a little bit. That comp has never popped into my mind because DeRozan, I visualize as like a stockier guy. Like I feel like part of the mid-rangeness of DeRozan's game is like I'm bumping you with my shoulder 2 or 3 times. Like I'm moving you into my spots and getting my shots up. Whereas Ingram is like, to me, more fluid. Like he uses the handle to get to like the elbow or wherever he likes to be at.
They're grouped together in my head as like these guys check so many good boxes, but it's not all. Why aren't they better than they are? And so that's how I think about them. And like DeRozan, I think the rim finishing did. Would you say overall the years is the rim finishing what fell off in the playoffs? What attributed to his struggles, or what would you see it as?
I think it's probably that plus the 3-point shooting, and also like DeRozan was objectively a really tough defender. Like he was rough, and part of the reasons why the Raptors defense, even though it was really good towards the end, like 2017, 2018, just wasn't able to stay afloat because he was getting hunted out so often on the defensive end. Maybe BI can be better on that end just because of his length and he's a taller player. I think to be honest with you, I do think he's shown that he's probably a better defender overall than DeMar, but that a lot of that has to do with size. So that's probably part of why DeRozan failed in the playoffs and continues to, unfortunately. But
But he was so cool. He was
cool. He was sick. Yeah. All-time Raptor. Yeah, one of the best. Yeah.
Okay. Other big, I don't know, reservations. I feel like we talked about everything I'm worried about. There's just a lack of offensive talent here.
Yeah.
You do kind of worry about, I don't want to say talent plateau with Scotty, but like it's just concerning seeing what's happening moving. Like you hope for like a year that really settles you back into what the expectations were.
I'll say the other thing, like if Jakob Poeltl is not healthy this season for some reason or another.
What's that center rotation look like?
That's going to be tough,
Sandro's
dog.
there.
I'll tell you right now, that's going to be tough, dog. Between Mobo and Mamu, like that's basically their center rotation. Maybe CMB sees a couple minutes at 5, but I don't know, dude. If Jakob falls off, their defense will not be as good as I'm saying they are. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh my God, I was worried for a sec because I went and looked at. I'm on his basketball reference page, and the trade year is split up into two columns.
Yeah.
So I was looking. I was like, he only played 26 games a few years ago,
No,
but he just played 26 with the Raptors.
Yes, yeah. He's usually decently good. Like they tanked out the last couple of years, so that's why he rested a little bit more. But he's like he'll get you to like 60-ish, 65 games.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think if he misses an extended period of time, and by the way, we've not seen him yet in preseason. He had a sore back to start, and then he got a cold. He's also wearing a mask. Not a mask, like not like a COVID mask or whatever.
He's wearing
but like
a shiesty, baby.
He's wearing a shiesty.
He has a broken nose or something?
He has something broken. I asked Darko. He said he likes how it looks. He didn't really give me a good answer there. So I don't know, but if that dude misses time, their defense might be cooked in a real way. So all the talk about top 10 defense and et cetera, that goes out the window if they don't have their main big. So.
Yeah, that is intimidating. I don't know. He's such a steady presence in my mind. I hadn't even considered him like dipping out. But yeah, I mean that's scary.
How far away is Chomche?
He's a little bit away. I would say let's have this conversation about Chomche next season. He showed some flashes in summer league, got a lot of us excited about what he can do, but the goal this season is to go win G League MVP.
Nice.
Go and do that, and then come back, and we'll see what he can do.
Who has been winning that? Let me pull up that list.
I swear it was Trey Alexander last year. I swear the Nuggets had the G League MVP last season.
Last season was J.D. Davison for the Maine Celtics.
Okay.
Mac McClung won it in 23-24.
Oh.
What a throwback. Carlick Jones for the Windy City Bulls.
So So what you're saying? This award has an esteemed history.
It's pretty guard slanted, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Hey. How about Chris Boucher in 2018-2019?
Nice.
Paul Reed in 2021.
Hey, B-ball Paul. We had a patron. He fucking dupe us the other day because his name's like Chris Boucher Lover or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, did you guys hear Boucher's in the starting lineup for the Celtics this year? And we were like, really? Are you serious? And we went and checked, and he just lied. Like, that's not true. Oh my God!
He started versus the Raptors in that game.
That's all we care about. One start makes it canon. Biggest X factor to the team's success this year. There's a lot of obvious candidates here.
Yeah.
I think you could say Scotty is easily one. So let's do like macro X factor that, and then looking around the edges, just some guys you think could be like real difference makers as well.
Yeah. By the way, I think the fact that this team has so many X factors and swing kind of things that could happen to it is the reason why a lot of people are either, I'm very low on this team, or I'm very high on this team, because their floor and their ceiling, well, maybe their ceiling isn't as high, but like their floor is very, very low if all things go bad, So yes, Scotty Barnes and how well he does this season, both offensively and defensively, how much he can impact their defense. Brandon Ingram's health, I think, is a big factor here. If he can play 60, 65 plus games, that's a huge win for this team. I think overall the health of Emmanuel Quickley and how he acclimates is a huge swing factor for this team. How R.J. Barrett adjusts to his new role and or if he gets traded by February is a huge swing factor for this team. And
so we got four starters off for our X factor.
That's why it's so hard to predict for this team, man. That's why it's like some people will say they are on outside looking in of the play-in. Some people will say they're like a 5-6 seed. It's just That's why there's that big of a swing for them. And if you want mini ones, CMB, how good he looks, I think is a pretty decent swing factor. Like if he's in the all-rookie conversation, first-team all-rookie conversation, that's a pretty big swing factor. And if Grady Dick becomes a consistent and reliable offensive weapon for them, that's a pretty big swing factor too.
That'd be dope. Pablo, do you have any thoughts about the X factor or anything? What are you pondering over there?
What's up with Darko? Where are people at with Darko? Are they?
That's another X factor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is I know you said like if things go bad, everything could be torn down. But is he specifically like? Does it seem like upper management's happy with him, or does the team like where's he at?
Yeah, they do like him. I think everybody talks about how much like he was a good culture setter, especially post Nick Nurse, like a very different vibes guy compared to Nick Nurse. In terms of like player empowerment and working with the younger guys, and very focused on like player development, making sure everybody gets like a time of day with the coach. Walked into practice the other day, he was working with Olivier Sarr. You know what I mean? So he like is very hands-on with the way that he works with the guys, and I think that's appreciated. From top down, I think that's appreciated. But we've seen it in sports before. Coaches are usually the first to go when things go wrong, So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a level of pressure for him to make this team reach its expectations. And if it doesn't, if they somehow have a flat season and they still win, 30, 35 games or whatever, there's a decent chance there's pressure on him to lose his job. So he has 2 years left on his contract, and so this is a a big inflection point for his career as a coach too. There's no question in that. But I actually like him as a coach. I think he runs a pretty good system. I think he has decent ideas. It's just the roster has not matched the way that he would like to play. And so we'll see if they do this season. I think it'll be a big swing factor too. Like we could be finishing in May. We could be talking about, oh man, Coach of the Year, Darko Rajakovic for winning 45 games. There's a world where that happens, but there's also the world where he might lose his job because this team doesn't make the expectations. Yeah.
Where did he come from? What was his brand of basketball?
He worked with the Thunder for a little bit. He also did a bunch of assistant coaching everywhere else. He's worked a lot in international basketball. I remember the other day he said this is his 30th year as a coaching basketball. So like obviously he's had a litany of experiences, whether it's player development, whether it's coaching. He's mostly leaned on the player development side. Memphis was another place that he worked. Desmond Bain really credits him for helping him develop a lot. So that's one of those guys where
and he could
like,
shoot. So maybe the Raptors.
So maybe you know what? It is funny. Darko does work on shooting with a lot of the guys. Like if you walk into practice, he's always like, "All right, right foot, left foot, yes." You know that's.
Nice.
But yeah, I that's where he comes from. It's more on the player development side. This was his first experience as head coach, so it's been a learning curve for him. And dude, he's had a tough go for the last couple of years. It's like first year you're dealing with Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby rumors, and then that team gets traded, and you have to incorporate RJ and Scotty, and then
was that Tampa or no? Was that the year?
No, it was after Tampa.
Oh, okay.
After Tampa, yeah. And then it was we're tanking this year out. We're not trying, and we got injuries. So he's had a tough go at it. So that's why I'm excited for this team to actually want to play competitive basketball.
Okay. Well, I think we're pretty much wrapped up here. Well, the last question we asked, which I've actually forgotten to ask for, I think 3 consecutive previews. We're keeping a tally of who people think will win the 2026 NBA championship. So
nice.
Just go. Who you think's taking it this year?
I think OKC repeats. I think they beat the Knicks in the finals.
Oh, okay. We have gotten a few. I think the last time we got the Knicks in the finals was actually our Knicks preview. So
really?
probably just some homerism there. But hey, shout out to New York, man. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you.
Do you want to plug the Athletic NBA? I don't know if our listeners have heard of your program. So maybe just take the platform while you got it.
Listen to the Athletic NBA Daily. We do pods every day. It'll be on your streaming platform, all that type of stuff. Appreciate you guys having me on. If you are interested in Raptors stuff, Raptors Republic, we do cool stuff. Cool YouTube things.
You had some epic
yeah.
vlogs I saw from.
We did some epic vlogs. Hell yeah, we did. Hopefully we can do more of that because people really liked it. But
was that when you guys were out in the mountains? I saw the pictures on. Dude, it looks big country out there. It looks beautiful.
Country. Yeah, I know. I've done 2 trips this summer. One was Vancouver and the other was Calgary. And I'm like, damn, Canada, pretty cool actually. Pretty nice. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Everybody. Donate to Canadian tourism. Go check out all of us' stuff. It's linked in the description below. And David Robinson, take it away.
Basketball is an endurance race. Whoever's got something left to give in the fourth quarter wins. Up tempo means I'm going to run you into the ground.